Welcome to Cardboard Box Games. I'm Adam.
I'm Adam.
I'm Andrew.
Today we're going to be talking about artifact control in Age of Ascension. And this was a recommendation in one of our last videos by one of the viewers of the show. So let's jump into it. Alright, this is episode 30, which is awesome. And I wanted to start it off because one of the things that we've talked a lot about, and I've also heard it in some of the comments, is that artifact control seems like there isn't enough of it. There's not enough artifact control for how powerful artifacts are. So we wanted to take a look at the numbers, and we took some advice, and we actually have it broken up by rarity as well too. But it's actually pretty surprising the way the numbers actually pan out. But before we jump into that, I want you guys to we're going to go around the table and let's name an artifact that we are the scaredest of. So when someone plays this artifact, like you're the most nervous of. And I'll start with you, Adam. Do you have an artifact? Because you've been the one looking at them the most lately.
So for me, I think it's either Grunt Buggy or Proclamation 364E.
34-6E, yeah.
34-6E.
Let me verify something real quick. Yep, we're good.
Both of the cards are pretty scary to me because if they have Grunt Buggy in their deck, that means they have Bromnar creatures in their deck. That means they have high creatures. And Proclamation 34-6E, it's just very hard to deal with.
It's just almost always active.
Yeah. You need a creature from each and every single house on the board.
Yeah, you need to have, and it's very easy for your opponent to pick off the one house, and then your keys cost 8.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, I've played games where I had to pay 8 almost every time for my key because I could not keep 3 different houses of creatures on the board. And sometimes I have houses that only have like 4 creatures in it, which aren't ideal, but it's hard.
It is pretty hard, yeah.
So yours is Grunt Buggy or Proclamation 346E. So honestly, those were mine as well. Like actually, number 1 is probably Proclamation 34-6E, and it's amazing to me how strong that is. And number 2 was Grunt Buggy. Number 3 for me was Lash of Broken Dreams, because I feel like that card can also get your opponent a lot of value. I feel like that's one that's pretty ridiculous. There's also a few other notable ones in my mind, but we'll talk about those in a little bit. Do you have an artifact that stands out to you?
I agree with you, Dad. I think Grunt Buggy is pretty good. I can't really say that.
Proclamation.
That card is costing me the game so many times. The Lash has really good value. It gives you so much value, and it's hard. We don't have that much artifact control, so you can't really get rid of it. And also, I think Key to Dix is a good one. Because
Key to Dix is good,
You can just wipe the board, which is pretty good if you might have some synergies like Dust Imp and just gain 2 Amber. You know, I think it's a pretty good card also.
The shards are also pretty painful across the board. Almost every shard, if you play against a deck that has multiple shards in it, they just add up so much value. But with that said, let's jump into the number of artifact control cards per house in Age of Ascension. Now here's where it gets tricky, because what is artifact control? And we were asking ourselves the same question. For example, does it, like the card Nexus, for example. It's a Shadows creature. It's 3 power elusive. When you reap with it, you may use one of your opponent's artifacts. You just use it. Is that really artifact control? That is where things get tricky to me.
Unless if the artifact is a sacrifice.
Yeah, I mean, there are cases like that, because you can take out like a...
It also like stops them from using it their turn.
For one turn. Yep. All right, so I'm kind of borderline on that. So let's just say that, because you know, if we count those, it's one number. If we don't count those, it's another number. So let's just start with saying like, let's just kind of keep it into the point where things like remote access and things like Nexus, you know, maybe we do count those as artifact control. What do you think, Adam? And the numbers that you put together here, did you count those?
I count the remote access. I forgot about Nexus.
Okay.
But they both do the same thing basically.
Yeah.
So I think they would count because it at least stalls your opponent for a turn. And like barehanded, for example, it returns each artifact to the top of your deck. I think that's stopping.
I think
them
that's
also.
artifact control too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's first talk about the very best the very best artifact control card in the set. What do you think it is?
I believe it's Poltergeist.
I agree, Poltergeist. Poltergeist is the one that lets you use and then destroy it. And just if the artifact can't be used, you still destroy it.
I agree with you. That's a great artifact to destroy, but also destroy them all.
Destroy them all.
I mean, if you have that and you have no Mars creatures, just play it, destroy
That's
all
true.
artifacts, and you gain an amber for playing it.
Well, destroy all destroys one artifact.
Yeah, it destroys.
Destroys one artifact, one
creature,
creature,
and
one upgrade.
Yeah, one creature, one upgrade, one artifact.
Wasn't there a card?
There is. What is that called?
EMP Blast.
EMP Blast.
That was the card I was thinking of.
That's
the
in
card.
Call of Archon.
Yeah.
Oh, never mind.
And
Yeah.
that card, that card is actually kind of interesting. I have blown up 3 or 4 artifacts with this EMP Blast. Good memory on that name. Okay, so in Brobnar, from what we found, there is only one rare card for artifact control, and it's barehanded. It doesn't actually even destroy the artifacts. It just puts them all back on the deck. Yours included.
Yep.
On top or...
Yep.
Yeah.
So Brobnar, you're not going to have artifact control. Barehanded buys you a couple turns, maybe. They're probably going to draw it on their next turn because they're playing some cards
Play
and
it,
drew
then
it.
wait the next turn.
And they have to play it. So I guess in theory, you've probably bought yourself
2 turns.
2 turns, and they may do it worst case scenario the 3rd turn. Likely not though. So maybe barehanded. Barehanded is probably pretty good actually, because it clogs up their hand, and they really don't want to have to wait another turn to activate strong artifacts. And then in Dis, there is only one artifact control. There's also a couple other ones like maybes
Like
that we've got on here.
Tesmal maybe, or Tentacus, because Tesmal can stop the opponent from playing that house.
Yeah.
And Tentacus makes your opponent pay you 1 amber to use an artifact.
Yeah.
I didn't really know to count those or not.
Yeah, those are just kind of like Tesmal's kind of like that though, if you think about it. But really, the only one is the Poltergeist one that it's uncommon too. So you're not going to see it very often. You're going to see it some. I've played against the deck that had 2 of them before, which is pretty awesome. Because I turned 1 Lash of Broken Dreams, they Poltergeisted it. I turned 2 my Gauntlet of Command, and then they Poltergeisted it. I'm like, what? I'm not going to have any artifacts this game. Okay, so in logos, we've counted 2, and that includes Remote Access and Crazy Killing Machine. In Call of Archons, there was a few more with like Bouncing Death Quark and there's a creature too, Neutron Shark.
Right.
Neutron Shark, and I don't think that's an Age of Ascension from what I've seen.
Sadly.
I don't think so.
Unless you get Legacy of it.
So really, there's a few ways to destroy artifacts. Crazy Killing Machine is rare. Remote Access is uncommon. Again, Remote Access is kind of on the weaker end, but I have used it to like use a Lash of Broken Dreams on my opponent before, and it buys you some time a little bit. Destroy Them All in Mars. So Mars has 1 that we've counted, and it's uncommon. And Destroy Them All is the destroy creature, destroy an upgrade, destroy an artifact, and just like if your opponent doesn't have an artifact, you gotta blow up one of your own artifacts. So it's a little bit iffy. This is another one that I think is incredibly good. In Sanctum, there is 1, and it's called Gorm of Om. It's an uncommon. It itself is an artifact.
Yeah.
And is it an action?
It's an Omni.
It's an Omni ability.
Yes.
That lets you sacrifice it and blow up an artifact, right?
Correct.
And you've got a deck with that you've been playing against me on that. And I've actually got to the point where it's like, okay, well, I'll just have to play this artifact knowing that it's going to die. And it's actually pretty scary because you know that your opponent's going to use it as soon as they can. Anything to say about Gorm of Om? There's also another one that I was thinking about from Call of Archons, which I don't think it made its way over, is the one that returns an artifact to your hand. That's
Reliquary?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
And I think that card is actually pretty good.
It is awesome, yeah.
It is an action, so you have to call Sanctum in that case, but that is not an Age of Ascension. In Shadows, we've got Nexus, and we've got Snecklifter. Snecklifter is a rare, one of my absolute favorite cards in the entire set. I really want an awesome Snecklifter deck. I would love to have 2 Snecklifters, because what's better than blowing up an artifact?
Taking over.
Stealing the artifact.
Yes.
And that is actually something I've been thinking about for beating a deck that maybe we'll talk about at the end here. And then Grasping Vines is one in Untamed, which is uncommon.
It returns up to 3 artifacts
to their owner's hand.
Yep.
Can be useful.
Yeah, it clogs up their hand.
And it says up to 3, so you don't have to return your own.
Yeah, so you're not forced. And I also think the other interesting thing with it is I do believe it's nice to clog up their hand, but I also think it gives you an amber for playing it.
It does,
too,
yes.
Which is pretty cool, actually. So that's it. Like, we're talking 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9-ish. You know, some of them are fuzzy, like forcing your opponent to play a house or pay you amber. We're not counting those. And maybe we missed a couple. So maybe 10 or so Age of Ascension artifact control cards, and not a single one that we counted in common. So we either missed them, or there is just uncommon or rare cards that deal with artifacts. Do you guys feel like there's a lack of artifact control?
Yes, I do. Well, look, there's so many artifacts.
We'll talk about the number of artifacts, you're right. But you're playing a deck, though, and you're in a sealed event. The tournament that you lost was against that Proclamation 34 6E.
Yeah.
And you had no way to deal with that. Because most decks that I get have very little, if any, artifact control.
I believe a deck is good if you actually have artifact control and good artifacts.
I
have to
don't
back
think
that
I
up.
got any AoA deck with artifact control, honestly.
You've probably gotten some of the little ones like Barehanded or Grasping Vines. I've only opened one Age of Ascension deck with Snecklifter, too, which ended up not being that
Didn't
good.
open any with Snecklifter.
Oh, I love Snecklifter so much. So let's talk about the number of artifacts. And again, this is just an Age of Ascension, so this includes the ones that are carried over. In Brobnar, there are 9. In Dis, there are 8. In Logos, there are 12. In Mars, there are 8. In Sanctum, there are 9. In Shadows, there are 9. In Untamed, we surprisingly only have 5. So that is a lot of artifacts across 7 houses. We're talking 9, 8, 12, 8, 9, 9. Almost like, you know, if you think about it, probably 60 artifacts in the, and yet we have like 7 or 8 or 9 artifact control cards. To be fair, some of the artifacts aren't really that scary to play against. You don't need it for every.
There are 60 artifacts in all.
60 artifacts.
That's insane. And there's only like 10 cards that can actually get rid of them. And they're all rare and uncommon.
Yeah, and a lot of the artifacts are common. Yeah, so like even Gauntlet of Command is something that you really want to be able to have a chance to get rid of. Grump Buggy for sure.
Of course.
Especially if your opponent has a big
Brownar
board.
Creature board.
Yeah, so I mean, I really do think finding a deck, especially like that one I played against that had like 2 Poltergeist, that just steps your deck up a level. If the rest of the deck is solid and you get some decent artifact control, it puts you in a place where you're just not going to get behind, because some of these artifacts just add up with so much extra value over time. Some of them are just like little annoyances. Others are like game changing. In my opinion, Grump Buggy being one, and Proclamation 34 6E being another. Because those are just static effects that are there. That is incredible to me. Like, your key opponent's keys just always cost 8. Just for playing an artifact is just amazing. It is a rare card, though, so.
But it is really awesome.
But it is really good.
Yeah.
He's got a deck with that, and it is so brutal to play against. So anyway, I guess, you know, if we were thinking about like going into the next set, I feel like the shift should add a little bit of cards that can do more than one thing. So like I would love, like, EMP Blast is kind of interesting, but I really think they should have cards that like wipe artifacts more. There is a Logos card that we're forgetting about, which after you forge a key, destroy all artifacts. And
Strange Gizmo.
Gizmo.
I like that guy.
So that's kind of artifact control
Destroy
as
all
well,
artifacts, destroy all creatures.
It basically wipes the board.
It's like, yeah.
So that is another artifact control card that you can kind of put in there and that.
I think they should less how many artifacts there are and add more artifact control, because 16 all artifacts only 10. That's doesn't really.
But not
up.
all of them are really good. Like
I mean, there are good ones though. Godlike Command, Grump Buggy. I like most of these artifacts. There's some that I'm like, like Epic Quest, or they need to add less artifacts to the game, in my opinion.
Yeah, so the one that I think is like one of the worst is it's that Sanctum one. Let me see if I can find the name of it on here. Hallowed Shield. It's that one that just makes your creature invincible for the turn.
I personally never used it.
I've never gotten it.
Whenever I had the card, I just played it and never touched it ever again, basically.
And the worst thing is when your opponent returns it to your hand, you're like, oh, no.
Right.
So I've started discarding it. I played against a deck that had that Sanctum card. I just kept returning artifacts to my hand. So I'm like, oh, I'm just getting rid of this. I do not want this in my hand anymore. It's like so little value. Epic Quest, I enjoy it. It's just kind of like a gimmicky, kind of fun deck to play. And it is a real win condition in my mind. Yeah, I'm trying to think, like Niflgrounds, Heart of the Forest is one that you kind of need to deal with. World Tree is one you kind of need to deal with. Iron Obelisk can be one.
All the shards.
All the shards can add up to be really good value.
But some of the shards I feel like are like just annoying.
You need to be
Like
able
Shard
to
of Hate, stun a
Oh
creature,
my god, that card.
and also a Shard of Pain, deal 1 damage to a creature.
The sting.
Those hurt.
So the stun one, so when I was playing in a tournament, someone got a 3 shard deck against me and had all 3 of them out, and a Lash of Broken Dreams, and I had 1 card to blow up. I think it was a Poltergeist. I had a Poltergeist to blow up 1 artifact. So you have the Mars shard that stuns your creature.
Shard of Hate.
You had the Brobnar one that gives
Shard
you
of Strength.
Shard of Strength, and then the other one is I'm trying to remember the Logos one. What's the Logos?
Shard of Knowledge.
That one draws you cards.
Yeah.
So I think it was those 3 and Lash of Broken Dreams. Which one of those would you use your Poltergeist on?
It depends how the board state is, but I'd probably pick the Lash.
Wait,
The Lash.
You said Mars. Did your opponent has?
Yeah, Mars. They had Mars. They had Brobnar, and they had Logos.
Then you said.
Wait,
Lash.
you said
Oh
Lash.
wait, no, so I'm wrong.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. That's like what?
Yeah, you're right. Actually, it wasn't the Logos one. It was the Dis one.
The Shard of Pain, okay.
The Shard of Pain, because they kept doing damage to my stuff. You're right. Thank you for catching that.
I was
So out of those 4, which one would you blow up?
I think it would be the Lash, depending on the board state, or either the Shard of Hate. I mean, it depends, because you get to stun 3 of your creatures.
He was stunning 3 of my creatures every turn. I literally could never have... Like, almost... He kept, like... He had a good Mars board, which is why I ended up choosing blowing up the Mars shard. Ended up being the wrong choice, I think, because the Lash ended up, like, getting him a lot of value. But, yeah, I don't know. That was tough. That was my first time playing against shards. That was, like, back when AOA came out. And that's why it's hard to remember exactly, but I definitely remember thinking I should have blown up Lash of Broken Dreams and just been, all right, I'm never going to be able to use my creatures ever again. Like, that's fine. Just play a bunch of stuff. And if I do get to use them, okay. Yeah, that's some of the interesting mechanics that I think the shards introduce, especially when there are 3 of them on the board. Because you remove one of them, it lessens the effect of the other 2, and it stops the one effect completely, so... I definitely think Shard of Strength is the weakest one that I've played against so far.
I have to agree.
Because I don't think, like, power actually matters.
Unless you really have, like, a Grump Buggy or something that really
that's true.
changes the board, but...
How much power does it give?
Just one
for each shard. So, like, for him, he was pumping 3 on something, but it never made an impact in the game. But drawing cards makes an impact. The Greed one makes an impact. Like,
Shard of Hope, I believe, makes impact. Capturing.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. So what I would like to see is cards more around the fact that they're like choices, right? So destroy target artifact or upgrade, or things like purge target artifact. Just a straight up like they've got purge creature. Why can't we purge an artifact? Those type of thing, or an artifact that does something where like more like the kind that returns it to your hand. It could be more where you have an artifact that's like tap 2 artifacts that your opponent controls or something to lock them down, and it's just exhausts them.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's some like design space there, I think, to help with artifacts, but the problem is like just tapping down artifacts isn't going to be super strong. It's just probably going to need to give you amber.
I mean,
for
son
it.
of this idea. What happened if you could stun artifacts?
I mean,
That would be an interesting idea.
I mean, because you unstun it, but it's still tapped, and it's like it slows the opponent down by like 2 turns.
I feel like that wouldn't work for like speed sigil and stuff like that. Like
It wouldn't matter for the static effect.
Yeah,
ones, like
static.
speed sigil and
I mean,
grump buggy, but
it
it's
would
still
help.
for like lash and the shards and things like that would be kind of interesting.
Penalty you do all that.
Yeah, or a creature that just says your opponent can't use artifacts,
Yeah.
or text on artifacts is considered blank. You know what I mean? Like stuff like that. I feel like there's more room and things need to happen, but I really want it to be put on cards that are more valuable than just artifact control, because there's nothing worse than having a card in your hand that destroys an artifact and there never being an artifact in their entire deck. So I think I love the optional thing, like, you know, stun a creature or an artifact would be kind of neat. Stun a creature or exhaust an artifact would be kind of cool.
Yeah.
And then like, if the artifact is already exhausted, destroy it. Something like 1-2 punch would be kind of neat, but for artifact.
Yeah.
Some really cool like combos, but optional stuff. Because I think the problem with artifact control, and this is why I think they designed it this way, is they don't want dead cards in your hand. And there are times that you're going to have dead cards in your hand if you have a lot of artifact control. So I think they've gone the right way. I think the design should shift a little bit to be more optionality, more do this or this type thing, or wipe all artifacts, or, you know, like Oath of Poverty but in reverse. So like, it'd be neat to play a card that's like lose an amber. So you play it, you lose an amber, and for every amber lost that way, you can destroy an opponent's artifact.
That would be
Or destroy your own artifacts to gain amber. So like a kind of like, so like you can wipe both. But anyway, I think artifact control, they definitely need to reconsider, because there's too many games that I've been playing, and we'll talk about this deck now. So Adam, the last tournament you won, right? You went 3-0 at it, 4-0 at it, 4-0.
4-0, yeah.
And the deck that he's been playing, we've been just trying to play against this deck, and it is only an 80 SAS
Wait,
deck.
you didn't win, though?
80
You went
SAS and 50
3-1.
ERC.
No, he won that one. This is the one in Jacksonville.
Oh, Jack. Okay, I was confused.
So he got an 80 SAS, and then the Ranky score was in the 50s?
I think so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Around that.
But it's definitely not like a top tier deck. But the deck is ridiculous. I've been playing against it with a 88 SAS and a 98 Ranky, and I just cannot beat that deck. And I cycled through 7 decks yesterday playing against it. Some of them 2 matches, and he won every single one of them with that deck. And it's really crazy because there's just some interesting combos in there. Because if you were to look at the deck, you're like, oh, this is kind of good. But the way it plays is phenomenal. Proclamation 34-6E is actually a big part of that in that deck.
I don't think it's in
doesn't
that
have
deck.
that.
It's in a different
Oh, I'm
deck.
thinking of a different deck?
Yeah.
So what was the other deck?
The other deck,
Tied to mechanics and...
Oh, interdimensional graph.
Yeah,
Potential Graph, yeah.
So what?
The other deck you're thinking about is the one that you kind of destroyed me. Even
I'm
still
getting
I
2
had
decks
that card.
confused now.
Yeah.
Okay. That's right, because the one that we were playing against yesterday was the Call of Archons deck, so it wouldn't have that. Yeah, and you have like 4 artifacts in there. I remember you having like a bunch out.
And he has the artifact control Gorma Bomb, right?
Yeah, he has Gorm of Om. Yeah, and the worst thing is like he just seems to always have abilities to capture things, and he's got large creatures. He has 2 mothers in that deck. Tell me if I'm getting the decks mixed up
No, you
again.
got it right, yeah.
2 mothers in that deck.
2 Titan Mechanics, 2 Interdimensional Graphs, which is a fun combo to do.
Yeah, he'll go Titan Mechanic, interdimensional graph. So I forge my key for 4, but he'll take all the remaining amber. So then he forges the next turn.
It's really fun because even I do my asthma on my opponent, so then they build even more amber, and then I just steal it all. It's really fun.
Yeah, it's actually quite difficult actually to play against that deck. And there's one there. I ended up getting down to a point where I had like 20 amber, and he interdimensional graphed me because I was on my first key. He had 2. I'm like, I just got to go all in. Figured out some ways to do it. Got up to 20 amber, forged my second key, but because of interdimensional graft, he took 14 amber from me, and I have too much to protect in my deck, and I have Doorstep to Heaven, and I have routine jobs, and I have Urchin. Like, I've got a lot of control, but the problem is it didn't matter because the second I would like drop him, I'd make him lose like 5 amber for Doorstep to Heaven, and he'd gain it right back the next turn. And every card he seems to play has amber. Plus, he'd always have Titan Mechanic on the flanks a lot of times. So even with Doorstep to Heaven, I couldn't stop him from forging. It's ridiculous. But anyway, our goal for this week is to figure out how to beat that deck. And I think I have some strategies. I really do think Andrew has a deck that could stand good against it because it has a lot of board wipes. And because the ones that I had that even had board wipes in it, he's got so much armor that a lot of times I can't get them damaged. So the one I was playing, you have to be damaged.
Save the pack.
Save the pack.
I have 5 decks. I have one deck that has 5 board wipes.
So I'm thinking like, and it actually does pretty good. I'm wondering if like a deck like that would stand up against it well, because he does rely pretty heavily on his Sanctum creatures.
I do, yeah.
So just to throw that out there, like SAS and Ranky score does not mean everything.
And also,
ARC.
if you don't know what Ranky is, it's a new app.
Oh,
that, that helps evaluate your deck even more.
It's just a good way to sort your decks.
It's weird though, because I had a 70 SAS stack go to like a 27 rated.
That's because AERC is rated pretty highly in Ranky, from what I can tell. And the problem is like even a racing deck against Adam's deck that he's got doesn't matter because he just always interdimensional grafts to take your remaining amber. So you have to just try to sit at a point where you're always getting 6 amber. But if you do that, he can always stop you because he's got like a million capture things. And it's a really interesting... At some point it might be cool to like dissect like the different combos and things you do in there, because there are like some neat things that you pull off. One of them that I really like is you have the Protectress creature,
Yeah.
which you reap and make a guy invincible, and then so you'll fight with another guy, and then you'll ready him and fight with him again, and then you'll play a card to ready and fight with him again. I'm like,
I have 2 Surgeon Zakiels on that deck and
kills
Inspiration.
all my stuff.
It's awesome.
All my stuff dies, and he's captured like 3 amber by the time all that stuff's done. It's like, what is going on?
I also have Speed Sigil in that deck, which is really fun.
Yes, and that's the other thing.
With Nova Archivist, like archive a card in discard pile, fight with my Sanctum creatures, capture cards.
You have Hidden Stash too.
Really fun, yeah.
Yep, and I have too much protected him for a ton of amber, and then he just follows it up with interdimensional graft, gets all his amber back. Like, interdimensional graft is actually a surprisingly really good card, especially with 2 Titan mechanics.
I can think of one card that can work really well against Amsec. It's Control of the Weak. So you can get yourself check and make them not call logos.
But I have Sanctum.
No,
that can
make them play Shadow.
That's a good house to call because I don't really have any shadow cards that can stop you.
The thing is so another day we played against each other. Did I play with you, or was this a different deck? Where I did my 3 Control the Weak deck.
I don't
That was a
remember if it was
different-
this deck.
It definitely wasn't yesterday, but it was another day. I think it might have been the deck that won the box tournament that we did, that I was playing against. Anyway, guys, I think that's pretty much all I have for today. I think some cool talk about artifact control. Do you guys have anything to close out with?
We should probably talk about what Ranky is and how to get Ranky and how it works.
Yeah, just if you go to the App Store, just type in Rank, RANKEY.
EY.
You can just import all your apps right into it.
But the only thing is you need to have registered your decks of KeyForge.
That is one thing we found is if you get an error at all, just make sure you go to Decks of KeyForge first.
And import it.
Import your deck, and then it seems to work. I don't know if that's something they're going to fix eventually, where it would auto import it into Decks of KeyForge for you.
Probably.
Or maybe we're just running into
And
some
also,
weird issues.
when you add a deck, make sure you click save so it's actually saved, because
Yeah, it
Or
doesn't
add
auto
to
save.
decks.
Add to my
Yeah.
deck.
Add to decks.
I imported like 20 decks and I forgot to click save, so I had to redo everything. So
Yeah.
don't make the same mistake. Okay?
It's at the bottom of the screen, add to decks.
Yeah.
So all you have
Add
to
to my
do-
decks.
It
it's
doesn't
going to-
automatically save.
All you have to do is go to your KeyForge app and then click share on the deck you want. and scroll over to Ranky once you have it downloaded, and then go to the bottom of the screen, click Add to Decks.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And then it's added.
It does actually import really nicely just by doing the share right to Ranky. It actually is pretty nice.
It might take a while because if you have a lot of decks like us, then it takes a long time.
Yeah, we were looking. I have
ready.
73 registered now.
I have 66.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But once you do have it registered, it's really cool because you can go in KeyForge app and type in the deck name and then go to it and go to share, go to Ranky and see all your stats there. So you don't have to go scroll through Ranky, try and find all your decks.
Oh, one other thing. A lot of Age of Ascension or KeyForge stuff in general is on sale. So be sure to check out like your local game store first to see if they have any sales going on. If not, you can always jump on some of the websites like Miniature Market or Amazon even. Because a lot of decks right now are $5 a deck.
Insane.
Yeah, so Miniature Market sold out last time I checked. But for this last week, it might actually be over soon. So if you should check right away. But
For an unopened deck?
for an unopened deck. So I ordered us another box. I have it coming in the mail. So we got it for $60, where we were paying $120 before for each box.
That's a really good deal.
Yeah, so I'm pretty excited about that. All right, guys. Until next week.
Keep gaming.
Keep gaming. See ya.
Bye, guys.